Akai MPC 1 Retro 3.4.3. I got the update on my MPC 1. And, you know, I'm in my Caribbean bag still with the drums. I don't know if I'm going to make a Caribbean style beat. I don't know. But we're going to see how this thing runs and how it works. If you want these sounds, you can check it out by visiting the Gumroad link and getting that O.T.G Stimmy Pack. Gigs on gigs of sounds for $25. All kinds of different things, progressions, kits, all kinds of stuff, and hours on hours and lifetime updates. Hours on hours of video plus lifetime updates. So, you know, I love making beats, bro. That's just really what it is. I produce. My whole life is revolved around music one way or another. And so when I hop on my YouTube channel, or when I go on YouTube, I always see so many people with so many different complaints and problems and things of that nature. And I'm not upset. I'm not mad. I'm not talking bad about you and what you got going on. But I like to focus and just say that, bro, we can still get it done. And that's the whole purpose of this channel, is to show we getting it done. So right now, I'm going to use the step sequencer to get my Caribbean drums kind of laid out. Always remember, on the step sequencer, hit that pad mode, and then you can utilize the screen and really get things going that way. So we got our snare going. I'm going to utilize a 4 on the floor pattern for the drums. Let's get that going. Let me go ahead and do the intro. What's going on, guys? It's your brother O.T.G. The O.T.G's for Overtime Grind. Hardly seen, but I'm always around. And today I'm on my retro MPC 1 with the 3.4.3 standalone software. I'm utilizing the drum kit. I think I'm at 86.5. And we're going to cook up. Right now, I'm utilizing the drum effects to kind of work on this drum kit and make the sounds a little louder. It's a different way that you could get to the volume. This way is just a way where I use the gain and the trim, the soft clipper. I use the gain to kind of trim the volume down and get it where I want it. I might use the soft clipper to try to push the sound to its extreme. You know, that's kind of how I get down. I'm going to start with the drums first because I want to get a good feel with the drums, and then we'll figure out everything else from there. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, comment. Make sure you hit that notification bell. Make sure you check out everything that I have for sale. That's how you can support this channel. That really keeps everything going. Thank you to everybody who's been supporting, watching videos, sending donations, and doing everything. This is my temporary setup right now as we rebuilt the studio from flood damage. We had to gut the whole thing out, take the walls out, take the carpets out, take everything out, you know, and as of right now, I have to fight with insurance to try to get it right. I took some major L's, but listen, I got the music, I got my gear, and I got positivity. You know what I mean? Come through hard times just to make you better. So instead of feeling down and out, I'm just going to cook up like crazy until it gets done. So thank you to all you guys. Now, I hear a bunch of people complaining about 3.4.3 and the issues it has. Like I said on the Live 2 video, you know, if you ever have a bunch of issues with your MPC when you update it, and you see that other people aren't having the same bugs, you know, sometimes it's best for you to just reinstall. I think it's always safe to say it might be user error before it's company error. You know, so if you're having problems with your MPC just shutting down and being weird and doing all kinds of goofy stuff, go ahead and reinstall. Right now, I'm going to hop in my progressions. So, you know, this is one of the 400 progressions you can use. I'm utilizing the organ plugin. I'm sorry about how bright my screen is. I'm steadily trying to work on it. It's always been an issue with the lighting, you know, but I'm definitely going to have it figured out, because by the end of the year, we're going to have a whole new space. The space that we utilize, and it's going to look brand new, new lighting, new everything, different walls, whole 9 yards. So we should definitely be able to get the screen situation fixed. But again, I'm just utilizing some of the progressions from my 400 progressions pack. You can get that from down below. One thing I want you guys to know, I never claim to make all of this stuff. What I do is collect it all and I use it. And because we're in a community where everyone is trying to make the most and stop people from being able to be as creative as they can, what I do is just sell you access to the stuff that I have, you know, and I believe I should get some kind of monetary gain from giving you the access to years and years of stuff that I collected and making it easy for you. I come from the days where it was extremely hard, and I understand that buying gear, not everybody's rich, not everybody has everything that has the money to invest, and they don't even know where to buy. So this is why I have my Gumroad channel. You know, because I show overhead views and I never show the entire studio, you know, I don't get the support from the other guys, and that's cool. I don't need to be their friends. I'm cool if the companies don't send me shit. I buy my own things, and I have great supporters and fans and people who send gear in to me. You know, it's a community, so the least I could do is give back to that community. So what if you didn't notice, what I did is I started at 2 bars, and then I just extended it to 6. The reason why I did this is so that way we can have our full pattern. You know, if you've watched a bunch of videos, I could tell you about timing and understanding the timing. One of the things you need to recognize about making styled beats is you need to understand if that's a 4-bar loop, a 8-bar loop, a 2-bar loop, a 16-bar loop. You need to understand what it is you're listening to in order to kind of recreate that feel. It's extremely important to know that. You know, and so also remember that when you're inside the plugins, they have their own effects. You got to hit those tabs at the bottom. So right now, I'm going to add some reverb and some delay to this organ. I have all the plugins on my MPC, you know, and I love it. I think that's what makes the MPC so strong now, is because standalone, you have all of these instruments and you have all the capabilities right at your hands. All of the things that most musicians need. And the style of music that I make and my creation, you can get it done right from the MPC standalone. So right now I'm going to name this, I'm going to do the housekeeping early. I tell you guys all the time that I love the MPC-1. I believe the MPC-1 is the best MPC. You know, I know on the internet and on YouTube, having the most expensive piece of gear to a lot of people means that it's the best. I don't know. I'm a real form factor guy. Like I got a lot of things and I don't mind spending. So, you know, it's really about how it works. What I do know is utilizing the shuffle on that did not work, so we're going to undo it. I might try to add it again a little bit later. We'll see. But right now, I think I'm just going to go simple, and this is going to be a 1-sequence beat. I'm going to use my favorite Sub Factory, get that bass in. Always remember, when you're on a different screen on your first plugin, when you load the second plugin, it's going to open on that tab. You know, you may have to go back to the main tab to see the right screen. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, comment. Check out everything we have for sale. I'm going to start making some presets of these different sounds that I tweak to. You know, mess around with your bass sometimes, and if you can't figure it out, record one part and come in and add another part. You know, don't try to always force yourself to go the hard way. You know, I can finger drum and play stuff, but when it comes to laying down my first track, you say I'll use the step sequencer. Oh, something I wanted to tell you about right there is, so I purposely used the pad perform, left my pad perform my notes mode. I left it in so it was in the chord progression, and when I played the bass, it gave me that weird bass that you're hearing. I knew that it was on. Always remember that if you switch over to a pad progression, your pads stay that way going forward. So in order to take it off, you got to go back into pad mode, or that screen, shift plus 16 levels / notes, go to notes mode, and then switch back over to your single notes. But yeah, if you utilize your pad progressions and play chords with your bass, it could give you some pretty interesting basses that you might not get if you utilize just one, you know, if you do it singularly. You know, bass is monophonic unless you switch it and change it to polyphonic. But there's something funny when you play chords. I don't know how it works. Maybe it senses the first note that gets played or whatever. But, you know, I like it. I found that it creates a cool way to get some basses and things that you don't like, or that you wouldn't normally use. And what we're going to do is, because I'm not going to let this bass play this way the entire time, I'm going to leave it now while I'm doing this one sequence method. But in the back of my mind, I already know that I'm going to use events mode muting, and I'll probably mute out some parts of the bass throughout to create a doper arrangement. This is something that they added new in 3.4.3, event muting. What it does is it lets the last note finish that was playing when you mute, so it just doesn't abruptly cut it off. Something else I always say to you guys is make sure you're still tapping in with your old plugins. You know, this gear that we have, at some point they're going to stop updating it. And then if you're a guy who's just into gear and wants to have new gear all the time because that makes you feel like you're a part of what's going on, no problem with that. But the kind of guy I am is I like to max it out, so then that way going forward it's good for the next 5, 6, 7, 10 years if that's what I want to do. And even though new plugins drop, I have studio strings. Solina is a monster, and those strings sound amazing. You definitely got to go tap in with some of your old plugins and make sure you find those sounds. You know, I understand presets, and people get upset with the presets, but it's up to you to combine presets to make something dope. So like I told you, we're going to just utilize 4 tracks, man. I'm just in the vibes. I want to make this. Not every beat has a bunch of sounds. You know, major key to the one sequence method is don't mute anything before you go and hit the pencil next to sequence and double it out. I'm just going to double it out to 32 bars. You notice I still sometimes want to hit record and play because of the old mute way from 2.15. But the reality is you got to hit that button at the top, the automation button, and turn it on. So we're going to do some basic arranging. again, this is the one sequence method. I show this a lot in 2.15. I show it a lot. It's my major way of getting beats done when I'm in a hurry on the MPC. I've said this in a couple videos. If you want me to go more in depth, step by step in the one sequence method, and also show you what happens if you want to use alternative drums, what happens if you want to play an alternative part, how do you set that up on the mutes, how do you get that going, I could show you all of those things. You know, in my mind, I know when I need to use song mode, and I know when I can do the one sequence method. This one sequence method, I've been utilizing it for years. And so I just adapted it to 3.0. It's a method that I utilize in Reason. It's a method that I utilize across all of my beat making ways. We build up our first sequence all the way, and then we do a deductive method and reduce different parts and different parts of the same. So now that we have this laid out, what I'm going to do is turn off the automation. We're going to press play. I'm going to turn those strings way down. You know, I don't really touch. Sometimes I mix as I go, sometimes I don't. Right now we're going to go straight over to the pad mutes. If you don't see it, make sure you just go back to the correct bank. Most of the time, all your drums are on bank 1. And that's important to know, because again, in the one sequence method, if you want to utilize a whole different drum set, you could load it on a different bank. Aha. Or you could load another channel. It's all in what you want to do. But right now, I'm going to do some basic muting of turning the pads on and off, turning off different parts of the sound. We're going to get those laid in. And right now, I'm doing event muting. So the last parts are going to play. Well, the event muting doesn't matter on the pads. But this is a double up, and this is how you come back and further add a difference to your beats and how they work. Like I said earlier, you could get all of this stuff. You could get this drum kit, you could get the progressions, you could get all of that from the O.T.G Stimmy Pack at the Gumroad store. That's only $25. If you want to get the progressions, I believe that's less than. If you want to get the 45 plus expansion, so you can have all of these kits that you see in my videos, because these are the kits that I use the most. You can get that, it's less. If you want to get the whole package, check out the Stimmy Pack. But again, we're about done with this video, and you can see I created something under 3.4.3. It's pretty stable on my MPC 1, no problems for me. It is only a 4-track beat, but it's still a beat. And that's it, bro. It's your brother.